The night was calm, but inside a small restaurant in the heart of the city, something heavy was about to happen. Nobody knew that the quiet man who sat at the corner table, wearing his old jacket and simple black cap, was Keanu Reeves. He was there not as a superstar tonight, but as a man who loved people who worked hard behind the scenes. Keanu had come to this restaurant for years. It was not fancy like the five-star places where people expected him to dine. It was simple, warm, and the food felt like home. The chef, an older man named Jose, had worked here for 15 years. He was the one who made the garlic bread Keanu loved, the creamy pasta that reminded him of his mother's cooking. Jose never showed his tired eyes to the customers. He was always inside the hot kitchen, sweating, making sure every plate left with care. That night, Keanu was supposed to meet a friend, but his friend canceled last minute. Still, Keanu stayed. He ordered his usual meal and asked the young waitress, Clara, about Jose. Clara's eyes shifted away. She bit her lip and whispered so the manager wouldn't hear. "Mr. Jose got fired today," Clara said, her voice shaky. Keanu leaned forward. "Fired? Why?" Clara looked down at the table. "Manager says he's too old. Says the new chef is cheaper and faster." Jose begged to stay. He cried. "Sir, I saw him cry." But they didn't listen. The restaurant's music played softly, but inside Keanu's chest, something loud broke. He thanked Clara. He pushed his untouched plate away and left $100 tip for her. Keanu stepped out into the cold night. He pulled his jacket tight and looked at the kitchen window at the back. For a second, he saw Jose's old cap through the glass. The old man was packing his knives alone. Keanu's eyes stung. This was not fair. This was not how you treat someone who gave you everything. He didn't go to his car. Instead, he walked around the block to the back door. The alley smelled of old bread and cigarette smoke. He knocked softly. Jose opened the door, surprised. He tried to hide his tears with his dirty apron. "Keanu?" Jose asked. His voice was weak, like a man who lost his heart. Keanu didn't waste time. He hugged Jose tight, the way a son hugs a father who has fallen. "Come on, you're coming with me," Keanu said. "But I have nowhere to go. I gave my life." "Here," Jose mumbled. "You gave too much," Keanu said. "Now it's my turn." They sat together in a small diner across the street. Jose told him stories he never shared. How he came from another country with nothing but a recipe for garlic bread. How he raised his kids while working double shifts. How he never missed a day, not even when his wife was sick. All while the new manager wanted faster, cheaper, younger. Hands. Keanu listened like every word was gold. Then he pulled out his phone and made one quiet call. He didn't want to show off. He didn't want Jose to feel like charity. But Keanu's eyes were sharp. He had a plan. "Jose, how would you feel about working for me?" Keanu asked. Jose looked up, confused. "You? What would I do? Cook? The way you do? Not for me alone. For people who need it," Keanu said. "I'm starting something new. A food truck. Maybe a small kitchen. We'll feed the homeless first. The hungry kids. You'll run it. I'll cover everything." Jose's lip trembled. He shook his head. "I'm too old, Keanu." "No," Keanu said firmly. "You're perfect. I've seen your heart. They fired you because they don't see you. I do." Outside the window, the streetlights shone on. The wet pavement. Jose's shoulders straightened for the first time that night. He looked like a man remembering who he was, not a leftover cook. Not an old man to be thrown away, but a master who still had something to give. Keanu reached across the table and grabbed Jose's hand. "We start tomorrow. No contracts tonight. Just your word." Jose nodded. He wiped his eyes. For the first time in years, he smiled a small, shy smile. That night, while the restaurant owners counted their profits, they didn't know that the man they fired was about to feed hundreds who had nothing. They didn't know that Keanu's plan would change lives. Not just Jose's, but everyone who would taste his warm bread and feel that someone still cared. As they left the diner, Jose looked at Keanu and said softly, "Thank you for seeing me." Keanu squeezed his shoulder. "Thank you for feeding my soul all these years, Jose. Now it's time we feed the world." The wind picked up. They walked into the night together, two men, one with a dream, the other with the hands to make it real. Neither knew just how much this little act of kindness would ripple across the city, touching strangers who had almost forgotten what hope tasted like. The next morning, the sun rose over the city like any other day, but for Jose, it felt like a brand new life. He woke up in the small guest room of Keanu's house. The sheets were soft, the window looked out at a garden, and for the first time in years, he didn't have to rush to catch a bus to the old restaurant where nobody respected him anymore. Keanu made them both coffee. It wasn't fancy. They sat at the kitchen counter like old friends. Keanu showed Jose his plans scribbled on napkins and scraps of paper. A food truck that would drive around the city to feed the homeless and families who couldn't afford a warm meal. Why not just give them money? Jose asked, his voice still unsure. Keanu smiled. Because money feels cold sometimes. Food feels like love. And you know how to cook with love. They visited an old, beat-up food truck parked in a mechanic's yard. It was rusty, the paint peeled off, but Jose's eyes lit up. He ran his fingers along the counter, imagining pots and pans, garlic sizzling in oil. He saw more than just metal and wheels. He saw hope. This will take work, Jose said. And we have work to give, Keanu replied. They spent the day talking to local farmers and market owners. When they saw Keanu, some people wanted selfies, but he waved them off kindly. He introduced Jose to everyone. This is Chef Jose. He'll be making the best garlic bread you've ever had. Jose blushed every time that word spread quickly. Clara, the waitress from the restaurant, called Jose in the afternoon. She was crying happy tears. Everyone's talking about you and Keanu. People are saying you're a hero now. Jose shook his head. I'm just cooking. But it wasn't that simple. That night, they parked the truck in an empty lot near a shelter. Jose's hands were steady as he chopped onions, garlic, and herbs. Keanu helped carry bread and soup bowls. They didn't tell the shelter's people that a Hollywood star was behind the counter. They only cared that the food was hot and free. A line formed under the streetlights. An old woman with shaking hands said she hadn't eaten a warm meal in days. A young boy with a torn backpack asked for seconds. Jose's heart ached every time someone said thank you. Keanu stayed close, washing dishes, wiping tables, laughing with kids who didn't know who he was. When the first pot ran empty, Jose looked at him and said, "We need more. Then we'll make more." Keanu said. By midnight, the whole lot smelled like fresh bread and herbs. People huddled together, eating and talking. Nobody cared about fame or money. They cared that someone showed up for them. Jose felt young again, alive in a way he hadn't felt in years. As they cleaned up, Jose looked at Keanu. They will come back tomorrow. Then we'll be here, Keanu said, tired but smiling. But back at the old restaurant, the manager watched the news on his phone. Someone had filmed Jose and Keanu serving the homeless. The video was already going viral. Customers started leaving comments on the restaurant's page, angry that they fired Jose, angry that they cared more about money than people. Inside the small office, the manager slammed his fist on the desk. This old man and that actor, they're making us look bad. He shouted to his assistant. The assistant, who once ignored Jose, now shifted nervously. What do you want to do? The manager's eyes narrowed. We find a way to stop them. If they keep this up, people will stop coming here. We need a plan. While the manager stewed in his greed, Jose and Keanu drove the food truck back to the mechanic's yard. They sat on overturned buckets, drinking leftover soup from plastic cups. It wasn't about profit. It wasn't about revenge. For Jose, it was about dignity. For Keanu, it was about gratitude. But neither of them knew that this act of kindness was about to become a storm. Soon, more eyes would watch. Some would be inspired, some would be angry, and hidden among the shadows, someone would be waiting to ruin everything they had just begun to build. That night, as they locked up the truck, Jose turned to Keanu. Why are you doing this, really? Keanu looked at him, his eyes soft but fierce. Because too many people get thrown away, Jose. You were never just a chef, your family. And now, we're going to make sure nobody forgets that. The city lights flickered as they walked home. The stars above them shone bright, like tiny sparks of hope that refused to die. Days turned into weeks. The old food truck, now freshly painted with bright colors, and the name Warm Souls Kitchen on its side, became a small miracle parked on different corners every night. Jose cooked like his hands were guided by something bigger than him. The line of people waiting for his food grew longer each time. Kids ran up to him, hugging him, calling him Grandpa Jose. Mothers whispered their thanks with tears in their eyes. One night, a woman told him, "My little boy sleeps with a full stomach because of you." Jose didn't have words for that. He only wiped his eyes on his sleeve and gave her an extra loaf of garlic bread. Keanu worked behind the scenes more than anyone saw when he wasn't filming a movie. He was driving supplies in the back of his old Jeep. He called local bakeries and farms, asking for donations. He paid the rest from his own pocket, never once letting Jose feel like this was charity. To Keanu, it was family looking after each other. But trouble was brewing inside the old restaurant. The manager was burning with jealousy. Each night, he watched the videos online. People praising Jose and calling him an angel. The restaurant's tables were empty now. People wrote bad reviews, saying they'd never come back after how Jose was treated. One morning, the manager called a man named Vincent. Vincent was slick, always wearing a tight suit and carrying a suitcase that smelled like cheap cologne. Vincent specialized in shutting down small businesses that threatened bigger ones. "This food truck is stealing my customers," the manager hissed. "Find a way to stop them. I want them off the street." Vincent smirked. "For the right price, anything can happen." Meanwhile, Jose and Keanu didn't know that a storm was coming for them. They were busy planning their biggest meal yet. They wanted to feed an entire block near the old train station, where families lived in makeshift tents. Clara, the waitress who quit the restaurant in protest, now helped them every day. She brought her friends. Local musicians came to play songs while people ate. One night, after everyone left, Jose sat on an old crate, his back aching. Keanu handed him a cup of tea. "You good, old man?" Keanu teased. Jose chuckled. "My bones hurt, but my heart feels young." Keanu looked out at the empty lot, now filled with small paper lanterns Clara had set up. "Do you ever miss the restaurant?" he asked. Jose thought about it. "I miss the stove, the smell of bread, but I don't miss feeling invisible." Keanu nodded. "You're not invisible now. The whole city knows who you are." Jose shrugged. "I don't care if they know my name. I care that they know someone cares for them." Behind the glow of the lanterns, Vincent watched from his black car. He snapped photos. He made calls. He smiled to himself. In his world, good men like Jose didn't stand a chance against men with power. The next morning, a city inspector knocked on the side of the food truck while Jose and Clara were cleaning the grill. He handed Jose a stack of papers, official notices. "You can't park here anymore," the inspector said coldly. "You don't have the right permits. Your kitchen setup doesn't meet city codes. You're a health risk. If you keep serving, we'll fine you $10,000. Jose's hands shook as he read the notice. Clara argued with the inspector, but he just walked away. That night, Jose sat alone inside the truck. Keanu arrived late from a long shoot, still wearing makeup from a fight scene. He found Jose staring at the papers. "We can fight this," Keanu said. "I can't afford a lawyer." Jose whispered, "If they fine us, I'll lose everything. And you've done enough for me." Keanu, "Maybe it's time to stop." Keanu slammed his hand on the small counter. "No, we don't stop because they're scared of what you're doing. This is not about money. It's about respect. They fired you like you were nothing. Now they're scared because you proved you're worth more than any fancy restaurant." Jose lowered his eyes. "I'm tired, Keanu. I'm just one man." Keanu leaned forward, his eyes burning with a gentle fire. "You're not just one man. You're the spark. Look at what you've started. Clara, the kids, the families, the music, the hope. That didn't exist before you fed them." Jose looked up, his old eyes wet. "What do we do?" Keanu smiled, a plan already forming in his mind. "We fight. Back the way we know how. We feed more people. We tell our story. They want to scare us into stopping. But they forget one thing. Good people are hungry for more than food. They're hungry for change. Outside the truck, Clara stood with her phone in her hand. She was already live streaming. Thousands of people were watching, listening to every word Keanu said. Within minutes, comments flooded in, strangers offering to help pay fines, volunteers signing up to work the truck, lawyers promising free advice. In that tiny truck, under the glow of the streetlight, Jose realized that no paper or greedy man could stop what kindness had already begun. But Vincent, watching the stream on his phone, clenched his jaw. He made another call. His voice was sharp as a knife. "If shutting them down legally won't work," he growled, "then we'll find another way. I want that truck gone by morning." The night was quiet except for the hum of the city far away. The Warm Souls kitchen truck sat in its usual spot, dark and locked up. Jose was at home, his tired body finally resting. Keanu, too, was back at his small house, his phone buzzing with messages of support. Clara, always the last to leave, stayed a bit longer that night to clean up extra well. She wanted Jose to come back to a spotless kitchen in the morning, but deep in the shadows, Vincent's plan was already in motion. A black van pulled up beside the truck. Two men in hoodies jumped out. They looked around, checked that no one was watching, then pulled out crowbars. They worked fast, breaking locks, smashing windows, tearing down the small shelf where Jose kept his spices. They didn't steal money. They didn't care about the ingredients. They just wanted to destroy the heart of what Jose and Keanu built. One of the men hesitated when he saw family photos taped to the inside wall. Kids holding garlic bread, Jose smiling with old neighbors, Clara laughing while stirring a big pot. "Are you sure about this?" he whispered. The other man spat on the floor. "Shut up and keep going. We get paid for the damage, not feelings." By dawn, the truck was nothing but a broken shell. The once bright paint was scratched with foul words. Glass glittered like tiny knives on the pavement. Whoever passed by in the early morning gasped. A little boy who used to come for soup poked his head inside and cried when he saw his favorite place ruined. Jose was the first to arrive. He stopped dead when he saw what was left of his kitchen on wheels. Clara ran up behind him. "I'm so sorry, Jose. I should have stayed longer. I should have." Jose touched her arm gently. "This is not your fault." Keanu arrived minutes later. His eyes went dark with anger, but his voice was calm. "Who did this?" he asked the small crowd gathering. Clara spoke up. "People saw a black van. Two men. Someone called the police. But you know how slow they are around here." Jose sank onto the sidewalk, head in his hands. "This was my second chance, Keanu. Now it's gone." Keanu knelt beside him. "No, it's not. They can break a truck, but they can't break what you gave people. They can't burn the taste of hope out of their hearts." Jose shook his head. "But how do we fix this? We don't have the money to repair it." Right then, Clara lifted her phone. "We show them. We show everyone what they did. We let people see what fear looks like. And then we ask for help." Keanu nodded. He pulled out his phone too. They filmed the broken truck, the breadcrumbs scattered like lost dreams, the messages people had left on sticky notes. "Thank you, Jose. You gave us hope. You made my kids smile." Within an hour, the video spread like fire. Local news stations picked it up. Influencers reposted it. Ordinary people, strangers, sent messages promising donations, food supplies, even a new truck. A retired mechanic commented, "Bring it to my shop. We'll fix it for free." Jose sat in the middle of all this, stunned. "Why do they care so much?" he asked Keanu. Keanu smiled. "Because you didn't feed just their stomachs, Jose. You fed their hearts. And they're not going to let you get pushed around." But not everyone was happy. Back at the old restaurant, the manager yelled at Vincent on the phone. "You said this would shut them down. Now they're bigger than ever." "I'm losing customers every day." Vincent gritted his teeth. "This isn't over. I'll find another way. The problem is Keanu. Without him, the old man is nothing." The manager's voice dripped with bitterness. "Then do something about him." Vincent ended the call and stared at the news clip of Keanu standing beside Jose. In front of the smashed truck, his mind spun with cruel ideas. He didn't just see a kind man helping a friend. He saw a target, and for men like Vincent, targets were meant to be taken down. Meanwhile, Clara and the volunteers stayed by Jose's side. People came by with pots and pans, lending equipment so they could still cook while the truck was repaired. They borrowed a small table from a church nearby and served hot soup from a borrowed stove. Even in the wreckage, Jose's garlic bread filled the air with hope. One old man in line took Jose's hand. "I lost my wife last year. I hadn't felt warm inside until you came along. Don't stop, son. Don't ever stop." Jose squeezed his hand. "I won't." But deep in his heart, Jose wondered how much longer they could stand against the darkness that didn't want them to succeed. Every light they lit seemed to draw more shadows. Keanu saw the worry in Jose's eyes. He leaned over and whispered, "No matter what they do, they can't break us. You gave people something too strong to destroy." Jose tried to believe him, but as he looked out at the broken truck, he couldn't shake the fear that the people who wanted to shut them down would stop at nothing. And somewhere out there, Vincent was already planning his next move, a move that would push Jose and Keanu to a line they never wanted to cross. The city's heartbeat grew louder around Warm Soul's kitchen. After the truck was wrecked, something unexpected happened. More people showed up. The simple table borrowed from the church became a symbol. Every night, Jose stood behind it, ladling soup, handing out garlic bread wrapped in napkins people had donated from their homes. Clara kept the lines moving, her smile stronger than any security guard. One night, a family came, shivering under thin blankets. The mother told Jose her kids hadn't had fresh bread in weeks. Jose didn't say anything. He just broke the last loaf in half and gave it to the children. The look on their faces told him this was worth fighting for. Behind the scenes, Keanu worked like a man on a mission. He called lawyers, city officials, even other celebrities he trusted. Some offered donations, some didn't believe him. But he didn't care. He spent hours replying to strangers who sent small bills, old pots, extra bread. Every tiny act mattered. But Vincent wasn't done. He hated that every attack only made Jose and Keanu stronger. He spent days digging into Jose's past, but found nothing worth using. Then, one night, he sent two men to follow Keanu home. They hid in the shadows, snapping photos, waiting for something they could twist. Keanu spotted them when he stepped out to take the trash. He didn't confront them. He knew men like Vincent counted on fear to control people. Instead, he turned on the porch light, looked straight at them, and smiled. The men turned and ran like dogs caught stealing scraps. The next morning, Jose woke to banging on the small apartment door Keanu had rented for him. A letter was taped there, an official-looking envelope marked with a big red stamp, "Lawsuit." Jose's hands trembled as he read it. The old restaurant claimed Jose had stolen recipes that belonged to them and was using them to profit unfairly. Clara read the paper over his shoulder. "This is nonsense. You wrote those recipes, Jose. They were yours before you even stepped foot in that restaurant." Jose sighed. "They have lawyers. I have bread." Keanu arrived with breakfast and saw the worry on Jose's face. He read the letter, crumpled it, and threw it in the trash. "We'll fight this. They're just bullies. They want to scare you back into the shadows." Jose lowered his head. "Maybe they're right. Maybe I should just stop. I'm tired, Keanu. I'm tired of fighting people who think kindness is weakness." Keanu sat down in front of him. "Listen to me. You know why they're scared? Because you showed the world what real strength looks like. It's not fancy lawyers. It's not suits and ties. It's you feeding a hungry child when you've got nothing left. That scares them more than any lawsuit." Jose's eyes filled with tears. "I'm just one old man." Keanu grinned. "Then it's a good thing you're not alone." That night, Clara suggested an idea. "Let's hold a community dinner, a big one, right outside that old restaurant. We invite everyone, families, workers, people with nowhere else to go. We show them who Jose really is." Keanu loved it. He posted an invite online. Within hours, hundreds said they'd come. Local musicians offered to play for free. Someone donated lights. Food trucks from other neighborhoods promised to bring extra dishes. It was no longer just about garlic bread. It was about standing up for respect. When word got back to the restaurant's manager, he exploded with rage. "They're going to make us look like monsters, Vincent. Handle this, no matter what it takes." Vincent, who never liked to get his hands dirty, now saw his reputation on the line. He called his crew together and told them to disrupt the dinner, scare the people, and make Jose look like a fraud. "If they taste fear, they'll never come back," Vincent said. On the day of the community dinner, the street in front of the old restaurant was filled with laughter, music, and the warm smell of fresh bread. Jose cooked at a folding table, his apron stained with flour. Clara passed out bowls of soup. Keanu walked through the crowd, shaking hands, hugging strangers. People came with candles, flowers, and small gifts. A woman gave Jose a tiny paper heart that said thank you for not forgetting us. But just as the sun dipped and the street lights flickered on, Vincent's men arrived. They slipped through the crowd, knocking over tables, yelling that the food was poisoned, screaming that Jose was a thief. A few people stepped back, afraid. Jose froze behind his table. He felt the old fear creeping, the feeling that people like him could never win against people like Vincent. But then Clara grabbed a pot lid and banged it like a drum. "Don't listen to these bullies," she shouted. "Look at Jose. Look at Keanu. Have they ever taken from you? No. They gave when nobody else did." Keanu stepped forward, standing between Vincent's men and the families. "We're not afraid of you. You can't buy respect. You can't break what we built." The people in the crowd stepped closer, forming a circle around Jose and Keanu. Hands reached out to touch Jose's shoulder, to pat his back. Kids stood in front of him, tiny shields of hope. Vincent's single quotes as men realized they'd lost control. They tried to run, but a few volunteers caught them and dragged them to the side until the police arrived. Under the streetlights, Jose looked around at the families eating garlic bread on the curb, at Clara dancing with kids to music from an old radio, at Keanu smiling like he'd found something money could never buy. Jose's eyes glistened. "Why are you doing all this? For me?" he asked Keanu softly. Keanu looked at him, his voice steady. "Because you fed me long before you fed the world, Jose, and you reminded me what it means to be human." In that moment, Jose knew that even if they came with more papers, more threats, more darkness, they would never be stronger than a small loaf of bread shared with love. Weeks passed since the night of the community dinner that turned the street into a symbol of kindness. The video of Clara banging the pot lid like a drum went viral. News reporters showed up at Jose's door, asking him to talk about how an old chef and a Hollywood star brought hope to people who were forgotten. Jose, shy as always, only said, "I just cook. The rest is love." But behind the smiles, the fight was not over. Vincent had been arrested after the failed scare at the dinner, but the old restaurant's manager still pushed the lawsuit forward. He wanted Jose to pay damages for stealing recipes and ruining their name. Jose spent nights staring at the court notice, afraid he would lose everything: the truck, the donations, the people's trust. Keanu knew Jose's heart was breaking under the weight of it all. He called lawyers every day, trying to find someone who would fight for Jose without charging a mountain of fees. Finally, a young lawyer named Maya stepped forward. She was small, fierce, and had grown up eating food from soup kitchens just like Jose's. "My father was once homeless," Maya said. "A meal like yours made him believe he could try again. I'll fight this for free." The day of the court hearing came. Jose wore his old suit, the one he kept in a box for weddings and funerals. Clara held his hand outside the courthouse. Keanu walked beside them, nodding at the people who showed up to stand in line for them. Families Jose had fed, kids he'd hugged, workers he'd greeted by name. Some held signs: bread, not greed. "Chefs don't steal hope." Inside, the manager sat with his expensive lawyer. He smirked at Jose when their eyes met, but Jose didn't flinch. He remembered Keanu's words: "They can't break what you built with kindness." When the judge asked the manager's lawyer to prove Jose had stolen anything, the lawyer fumbled. Maya stood up straight and showed photos, old recipes handwritten, By Jose's mother. Videos of Jose making the same bread in his own tiny kitchen before he ever worked at that restaurant. These recipes are his legacy, Maya said. What this restaurant did was throw away a man who gave his life to serve others. Now they want to steal his name. No, Your Honor. They don't deserve to profit off the goodness they tossed aside. The judge looked at the manager. Do you have anything else? He asked. The manager turned red, his hands shaking. He muttered something under his breath, but he had nothing. Case dismissed, the judge said firmly. Mr. Jose owes you nothing. If anything, you owe him respect. Outside the courthouse, the crowd erupted in cheers. Jose's shoulders dropped as if 1,000 bricks were lifted off his back. Clara hugged him tight, tears streaming down her face. Maya laughed when Keanu picked her up and spun her around like a hero in a movie. News cameras captured Jose's shy smile as he whispered, I can cook in peace again. But Keanu had one more surprise. He took Jose and Clara to an empty lot. On the edge of town, it was bigger than the truck could ever be. Workers were already laying down concrete. A small sign read, Future Home of Warm Souls Kitchen. What is this? Jose asked, his voice breaking. Keanu wrapped an arm around his shoulder. You can't fit all this love in one truck anymore, old man. It's time for a real kitchen. A place where people can sit together, eat together, heal together. You'll be the heart of it. Jose shook his head. I can't run a restaurant. It's not a restaurant, Keanu said. It's a family table that never closes. Months later, the Warm Souls Kitchen opened its doors for the first time. The old truck sat parked out front, its dents and scratches still visible like battle scars that nobody wanted to hide. People lined up before dawn, not for fancy food but for Jose's bread, his soup, and his soft words that made them feel seen. Inside, Clara ran the floor with a team of volunteers. Maya helped people with legal troubles while they ate. A local musician taught kids guitar in the corner. Keanu came often, sometimes cooking, sometimes washing dishes, always greeting people like old friends. The old restaurant across town put up a for sale sign. Its table stayed empty. No amount of fancy lights or new chefs could match the warmth of Jose's garlic bread. One night, when the sun dipped low and lanterns glowed inside the Warm Souls Kitchen, Jose sat at a table with Keanu. They watched a mother feed her baby, a teenager laugh with a stranger, a homeless man stand up and promise to come back tomorrow. You did this, Keanu said. His voice low. Jose shook his head. We did this. Keanu smiled. Never let anyone tell you you're too old, too poor, too small to matter. You changed lives because you never stopped giving. Jose looked around at the full tables, the bread baskets empty again, the laughter bouncing off the walls. For the first time, he believed it. They sat together, two men who refused to let the world turn cold, men who proved that sometimes a loaf of garlic bread could feed a hungry soul and start a quiet revolution. And outside the kitchen door, under a small wooden sign, people read the words that Jose chose himself. Kindness served fresh every day.